Amidst the hurried ebb and flow of people, a man walked calmly, ignoring the movement around him. He wore a tattered coat and simple jeans, which seemed to have seen better days. Michael Carter, a renowned businessman and owner of an empire of luxury hotels and resorts, drew no attention at that moment, and that was exactly what he wanted. The store Michael was watching from across the street was a symbol of luxury and exclusivity. Located in one of the most prestigious areas of downtown New York City, it stood out with its huge doors and imposing facade. Through the display window, he could see the exquisite details of the products, designer pieces exhibited like works of art. Michael had made a point not to announce his visit. He wanted to experience the store as any common customer would, without the weight of his name or fortune. He took a deep breath and crossed the street, entering the store as the bell above the door announced his arrival. Immediately, the contrast of his presence in that elegant environment became evident. The walls were adorned with dark wood panels, and a subtle, sophisticated fragrance hung in the air. Employees wearing impeccable suits and haute couture dresses circulated the space, all prepared to cater to the demanding clientele frequenting the store. As Michael moved discreetly through the aisles, examining the clothing, bags, and accessories, he noticed he was being watched. Curious and, in some cases, suspicious glances were cast in his direction. He knew he was not a typical customer for that place. The behavior of the salespeople reflected the exclusivity the store sought to convey, a reflection of the brand itself. It was then that he noticed a young employee walking toward him. Jessica Smith, 26, was ambitious and dedicated to her work. She had landed the job 4 years ago and had since distinguished herself as one of the best salespeople. She was known for her impeccable appearance and sharp eye for fashion, which made her believe she had a good judgment about her clients. However, upon seeing Michael, her instinct was automatic. He did not seem to belong there. "Can I help you?" Jessica asked, her tone polite but distant, as a forced smile appeared on her lips. She did not disguise the look that swept over Michael, noticing every detail of his simple, worn clothing. To her, it was obvious that this man couldn't afford to buy anything from that store. Michael raised his gaze and smiled back, ignoring the cold tone. "Yes, I'm interested in some suits," he said, pointing to the section where tailored pieces were neatly arranged. He walked over, but noticed Jessica hesitated before following him. "Those are very expensive suits," she commented bluntly, and for a brief moment she let out a chuckle. "Maybe you'll find something more suitable at other stores nearby." The comment was direct and cutting, and Michael immediately knew what she meant. He remained calm, continuing to observe the suits as she spoke, as if her words hadn't affected him. But the truth was that each of them echoed bitterly, reminding him of how many times he had seen such behaviors in his stores, attitudes he always condemned. "I would like to try this one," he said, pointing to a navy blue suit, ignoring Jessica's suggestion completely. The young woman's eyes widened, as if he had just asked for something absurd. "This model is from the new collection. It costs a small fortune," she insisted, this time with a tone that tried to sound friendly, but only came off as condescending. "I'm sure we can find something more affordable for you." There were other customers in the store, and a few were already observing the interaction. Curious, one or two discreetly laughed upon hearing Jessica's words, as if they were witnessing an amusing scene. Michael noticed the looks, but showed no signs of discomfort. He remained firm, maintaining the same serene expression and calm voice. "I would like to try this one," he repeated, this time looking directly into Jessica's eyes, who could not hide her surprise. "Sure," she replied, almost mechanically, before sighing and going to fetch the suit Michael had pointed to. As she did, her face clearly revealed her impatience and disdain, something Michael observed closely. He wanted to see how far she would go with this, what her limit of arrogance would be. When she returned with the suit, she handed it to him in a way that indicated it was a tremendous favor. Michael took the suit carefully, feeling the fabric between his fingers. "Thank you," he said, heading toward the fitting room. He knew he was being judged, and that interaction was a small sample of something larger. As he moved away, Jessica murmured something to one of her colleagues, who let out a low laugh. Michael couldn't hear the words, but he didn't need to. The laughter, the glances, the tone of voice, everything there was laden with a judgment he knew all too well. Shortly afterward, Michael emerged from the fitting room, wearing the suit. He looked at himself in the mirror, adjusting his tie, and realized the suit fit perfectly. Jessica watched him from a distance, and when he approached to ask some questions about adjustments, she answered with little enthusiasm, clearly eager for him to leave. It was evident that, to her, he was just an inconvenient customer, someone unworthy of her time and attention. Michael thanked her for her help and returned the suit, telling her he would think about the purchase. "Are you sure you don't want to see another store?" she insisted, this time with a smile that looked more like a grimace. "I'm sure," he replied with a gentle smile, and left the store without looking back. But as he crossed the threshold, he cast one last glance into the store, a thoughtful gleam in his eyes. He had seen enough, and his decision was already made. In the coming days, that store would not be the same, and Michael Carter would make sure everyone remembered that. 2 days later, the morning was clearer, and the sun's rays streamed through the windows of the luxurious headquarters of Michael Carter's company. Located in one of the most sophisticated buildings in the city, the top-floor conference room offered a panoramic view of the metropolis, with its skyscrapers and bustling avenues. This was where many important decisions were made, and today would be no different. Michael entered the room, this time wearing an elegant custom-made suit. He was impeccable, as he always was in formal situations. Around him, board members awaited, and there was a subtle tension in the air. The reason for this meeting had not been disclosed, leading everyone to speculate about what was coming. However, those who knew Michael understood that he rarely made decisions without good reason. As everyone settled in, he started the meeting with a serious yet calm tone. "In recent months, I've been considering a new acquisition for our group," he began, carefully observing the faces around the table. "An expansion that will complement our network of hotels and resorts, adding a new business segment." Some board members nodded, but curiosity was evident. Michael continued, walking slowly around the room as if he wanted every word to resonate within. "The luxury brand Belvane has been an icon of exclusivity and luxury. We have an agreement to acquire it, and I want everyone to know that this decision is final." The announcement sparked a slight stir among those present. Many knew that the acquisition of Belvane had been under discussion, but were unsure if it would actually happen. Now it was official, and Michael had, as always, kept the information confidential until the right moment. He gestured for silence and continued, "But before we finalize this process, I needed to assess something fundamental: customer service. After all, our goal is not only to offer quality products, but also service that matches that quality." There was a brief pause as he let his words resonate. Michael knew that his next steps would be crucial in conveying the message he wanted. "2 days ago, I visited the store as an ordinary customer," he said, raising his gaze to meet each director's eyes. "I went there unannounced to observe how customers are treated, and I saw things that need to change urgently." The expressions around the table turned serious. Michael's voice was firm, and he was not recounting that story for entertainment. "I was assisted by an employee named Jessica," he continued, vividly recalling the young woman who had judged him so quickly. "She made assumptions about me and my purchasing ability based solely on my appearance, and she made it clear, in public, that she believed I did not belong there. The expressions of some directors shifted from curiosity to discomfort. They knew that if Michael was discussing this, something serious was at stake, and she wasn't alone. Other employees laughed, made comments, and confirmed the same attitude. Michael added, looking around the table, "Is this the kind of service we want to offer our customers? A service that judges by appearance and belittles those they consider lesser?" A tense silence followed. Everyone knew Michael's question was not rhetorical. He expected answers, and no one dared to contradict him. "If our brand intends to represent luxury, it must also represent respect and empathy," he declared, finally sitting down and facing everyone present. "I will not tolerate any behavior that goes against that." Michael took a deep breath and continued, "We will proceed with the acquisition of Belvane, but with some immediate changes. I want a general meeting in the store in 2 days. All employees must be present, and I will personally explain why these changes are necessary." As he finished speaking, he noticed the surprised looks. It was not common for a CEO to get directly involved in matters like this, especially something that could be resolved internally. But for Michael, the issue went beyond a simple acquisition. It was about principles he considered non-negotiable. "Our group of companies stands out because we offer more than high-quality products and services. We offer experiences and treat everyone with the same respect, regardless of who they are, and I won't allow that to change." After the meeting, Michael retreated to his office, allowing the directors to process the information. As soon as he entered, his personal assistant, Laura White, was already waiting for him. Laura was efficient, discreet, and had worked with Michael for years, so she was not surprised when he asked her to organize the meeting at the store. "Make sure all employees are there," he instructed, "and I want a recording of the meeting." "Do you think that's necessary?" Laura asked, a bit hesitant. She knew Michael was always cautious, but what he was planning seemed like a drastic measure. "I want everyone to understand the seriousness of this," he explained, not looking away. "I will not make this acquisition just an expansion of business. I want it to be a lesson on how to treat people, and if anyone still hasn't understood that, they will at the meeting." In the 2 days leading up to the event, Michael paid close attention to the reactions at the company headquarters. He knew that his decision to go to the store as an ordinary customer and then reveal who he really was would have a profound impact. And that was exactly what he wanted. He was not interested in just changing the attitude of one employee. He wanted to redefine the culture of the company he was about to acquire. When the day of the meeting arrived, the luxury store Belvane was closed to the public. All employees were instructed to attend, from salespeople to management. There was an air of tension, and many wondered what would happen. After all, it was not common for a billionaire like Michael Carter to show up for a meeting in a store, especially to address a matter that seemed so simple at first glance. Michael arrived punctually, once again dressed in his usual elegance. This time, he did not worry about hiding who he was. He wanted everyone to know exactly who they were dealing with. He was greeted by some team members who looked uncomfortable at seeing him there. Jessica was among them, and the expression on her face was one of perplexity. She recognized Michael immediately, and a mix of surprise and nervousness washed over her. She couldn't understand what was happening, but she knew it was not a good sign. With everyone gathered in the center of the store, Michael began to speak. He did not shout, nor did he use aggressive words, but his voice carried a firmness that everyone felt. "Good morning. I'm here to talk about an experience I recently had in this store. As an ordinary customer," he began, and the gazes shifted to Jessica, who began to feel her heart race. She finally understood what was happening. Michael paused and then added, "And I hope everyone pays close attention, because this experience will define the next steps for each of you." The silence in the store was almost palpable. All eyes were fixed on Michael. And although he maintained a calm demeanor, there was an intensity in his gaze that left no doubt about the seriousness of the situation. Jessica, who until then had prided herself on her position in the store, felt a growing discomfort. She didn't know exactly what he was going to say, but she had a terrible suspicion that something was about to go wrong for her. 2 days ago, I entered this store in simple clothes and was treated in a way that no customer should ever be treated, Michael said bluntly. I was judged and disrespected solely based on my appearance. And what shocked me was not just the attitude of one person, but the fact that this seemed to be an accepted and normal behavior here. There was a murmur among the employees. Many had witnessed the interaction. Some even laughed at the situation, unaware of who that man truly was. Now, they were beginning to understand that the simple customer they had ignored and treated with disdain was, in fact, the new owner of the chain of stores. And he was there to settle the score. Jessica felt a lump in her throat as she heard Michael's words. She didn't know where to look, trying to hide the nervousness that was now consuming her. What scared her the most was the fact that he mentioned the incident as if it had been a personal experience. The confirmation came soon after. For those who don't know me, my name is Michael Carter, and I am the new owner of this chain of stores, he declared, and there was a small stir of surprise, followed by absolute silence. He made a point of looking directly at Jessica as he said this, and she felt the weight of those words hit her like a blow. I was here as a customer and was treated in an unacceptable manner, and that says a lot about the culture that exists within this store. Some of the employees present could not hide their shock. For many, Michael was just a well-known name, a billionaire who rarely appeared in public and who certainly wouldn't get directly involved in something as specific as customer service. Yet there he was, exposing a critical failure in their behavior and doing so in a very public manner. I didn't come here just to talk about what happened to me, Michael continued, scanning the store with his eyes. I'm here to talk about something bigger. Something that reflects what our brand should represent. Luxury is not just about expensive and exclusive products. Luxury is about experience. It's about making every customer feel valued, regardless of their appearance, how they dress, or any assumptions we may make about them. The tone of his voice was calm, but it carried an authority that silenced everyone. Michael knew he needed to be firm, but he also wanted his message to be more than just a reprimand. He aimed to use that situation to teach and redefine the standards of that store. When we treat someone inappropriately, we show that we don't understand what true luxury really is. Because true luxury is about offering the best service, not just to those who seem to be able to pay, but to everyone who chooses to walk through our door. Jessica felt the pressure mounting with every word. She knew Michael was speaking directly about her and her attitudes, but what scared her the most was the possibility of losing her job because of her thoughtless behavior. In her mind, she replayed the moment she had attended to him with contempt and arrogance, without even imagining he was the new owner of the company. Now, she desperately wished she could go back in time and redo her actions. I could easily get rid of those who showed prejudice or arrogance, Michael said, his words gaining more weight. But I believe in second chances. I believe we can learn and change, and that's why I'm offering all of you an opportunity to reevaluate how we treat our customers and what we want to represent as a brand. He paused, allowing his words to settle. The employees were tense, waiting for a severe punishment, but what Michael said next was unexpected. Jessica, he said, calling her name, and all eyes turned to her. Her face turned pale, and she tried to maintain her composure, but it was evident that she was shaken. I would like to talk to you after this meeting, but first, I want everyone to know that what happened 2 days ago is not just an individual problem. It is a reflection of something bigger that we need to correct. I am implementing a new training program for all employees, he continued. A program that will focus on empathy, customer service, and more importantly, not judging others based on appearances. We will redefine what it means to work here and serve in this store. The tension in the room began to dissipate slightly. Many breathed a sigh of relief as they realized Michael was not there just to fire people, but to propose a real and positive change. Jessica, however, knew her situation was still to be defined, and that left her extremely nervous. After the meeting ended, employees began to disperse, discussing Michael's words among themselves. Most seemed grateful for the opportunity to improve, but others still felt uncertain about what would come next. Jessica remained in the same spot, unable to move as she waited for everyone to leave. When only she and Michael were left in the store, he approached and invited her to talk in his office. They climbed a small staircase to an upstairs room, which was discreetly decorated but not ostentatious. Michael closed the door behind them and gestured for her to sit down. The silence was almost deafening, and Jessica felt her heart racing. "You know why we're here," he said, sitting across from her. Michael's gaze was not harsh, but it conveyed a seriousness that made her lower her eyes. "And I'm not here to embarrass you or humiliate you more than you already feel. I'm here to give you a chance." Jessica looked up surprised. She expected a harsh reprimand, perhaps even immediate dismissal, but not an offer of redemption. "I was wrong," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I judged you, and I was rude. I shouldn't have done that." "You were wrong, yes," Michael agreed, keeping his eyes on her. "But we all make mistakes. What matters now is how you will deal with this. I'm not going to simply ignore what happened, but I also won't condemn you without offering you a chance to change." He explained that she would be sent for intensive training, where she would learn about customer service and, primarily, about empathy. "Your continued employment here will depend on your commitment to learn and change. I don't want you to pretend to be someone you're not. I want you to genuinely understand why your actions were wrong and work to be better." Jessica nodded, still processing everything he had said. "Thank you for the opportunity," she whispered sincerely. "I won't waste it." "I hope you don't," Michael replied, standing and extending his hand to her. "Because, just like you, this company will also undergo a transformation, and I want you to be part of it." As she shook his hand, Jessica realized that this was not just a chance to keep her job, but an opportunity to grow and change her worldview. And for Michael, this was the first of many changes he hoped to implement, not just in the store, but in the culture of the company as a whole. The news of Michael Carter's acquisition and the incident with Jessica quickly spread throughout the store and the corporate headquarters. The account of the meeting became the talk of the day, with many employees discussing Michael's unexpected attitude and his decision to give Jessica a second chance instead of firing her. This approach surprised everyone, as it was common for cases of poor service to be resolved in a more severe and discreet manner. Outside the company, the incident did not take long to gain traction. Security cameras captured Michael's initial visit to the store, and although the footage didn't show audio, it was evident from Jessica's discomfort in attending to him and Michael's serene and calm demeanor. Within hours, snippets began circulating on social media, accompanied by headlines that piqued public curiosity. "Millionaire disguised as humiliated in luxury store," the titles of the rapidly viral videos proclaimed. At first, the exposure generated a wave of criticism against the store, especially after it became known that Michael was the new owner. Internet users expressed outrage over the treatment he received, even without knowing who he was at the time. Online discussions quickly divided between those criticizing Jessica for her prejudiced attitude and those praising Michael for his calm and polite stance in the situation. And of course, there were those who admired his decision not to fire the employee, offering her a chance at redemption. At the company headquarters, Michael was aware of the fallout and knew he would have to manage the public impact. He always believed that every problem could be transformed into an opportunity, and this was the perfect chance to reshape the store's image and initiate a campaign that went beyond mere marketing. He convened his communications team for an urgent meeting. "I know this is generating a buzz online, and some of the criticisms are deserved," he began, sitting down with his top executives. "But we're not going to hide or try to cover up what happened. We will face this head-on, and I want to use this situation to initiate real change. Our brand will be remembered for how we treat people and our ability to learn and evolve." The executives exchanged glances, trying to understand exactly what Michael intended. He knew his ideas seemed somewhat audacious, but that was precisely what he wanted. "We will launch a new customer service training campaign, but more than that, I want people to know we are focused on inclusion, respect, and empathy. I want it to be public, not just an internal initiative." He paused, observing the reactions around him. "We will turn Jessica's story into an example of how we can all learn and grow. She will be at the center of this re-education campaign, and with her permission, we will share her journey of transformation with the public." The eyes of the executives widened slightly. Michael was proposing to use a negative episode as a pillar for a positive restructuring campaign. This was risky, but if executed well, it could redefine the brand's perception and create a deeper connection with customers. "Do you think she will agree?" asked Laura, his assistant, who was attending the meeting. "Being the face of this campaign can be a lot for someone already under pressure." "I will talk to her," Michael replied, with a serious but determined expression. "If she doesn't feel comfortable, we will find another way. But I believe this could be something good for both her and the company." Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Jessica was grappling with her own reflections. After the meeting with Michael, she returned home unable to think of anything else. Each word he spoke echoed in her mind. She was scared of the possibility of being fired, but what truly troubled her was how she had judged someone so prematurely. For her, the job at Belvane was more than just a means of livelihood. It was a reflection of her dream to work in the fashion world, and one day build a brilliant career in that sector. But now, it seemed everything was about to crumble. That night, she spent hours reading comments on social media, where many condemned her attitude. Even without knowing her name, many criticized her for how she treated Michael, while others defended that everyone deserved a second chance. Amid it all, she felt a mix of shame, fear, and a deep desire to change. And perhaps, for the first time, she began to reflect on how her superficial view had influenced not only her work, but also her daily interactions. 2 days later, she was called again for a meeting at the company headquarters. Michael welcomed her into his office, which was elegant but welcoming, with large windows letting in natural light. He stood up and greeted her with a gentle smile, trying to break the palpable tension in the air. "Jessica, thank you for coming," he began, gesturing for her to sit down. "I know the last few weeks have been difficult, but I want you to know we're not here to judge you. We're here to offer an opportunity for growth." She nodded, unsure exactly what to expect, but already feeling relief that he hadn't started the conversation with a reprimand. "I understand," she said, her voice a bit shaky, "and I want to apologize again, not just to you, but to everyone I may have offended with my attitude." Michael smiled, appreciating her sincerity. "I accept your apology, Jessica, but I want this to go beyond words. I'm proposing something a bit different from what you might have expected. I want you to be part of a new initiative, something that can really make a difference in how we serve our customers." She looked at him, curious, as he explained the campaign he planned to launch. The idea of exposing her failure publicly left her hesitant, but as Michael spoke about empathy, learning, and transformation, She began to see it as an opportunity for redemption and perhaps even to inspire others. "I understand that it can be intimidating," he said, noticing the uncertainty on her face, "and the decision is completely yours. But if you accept, I want everyone to know that making mistakes is human, and learning from them is what truly matters. And I want you to have that chance to show how much you can grow." Jessica remained silent for a few moments, processing what she had just heard. Then, finally, she took a deep breath and replied, "I accept," she said, with a firmness that even surprised her. "If I can use this experience to learn and help others not make the same mistake, I'm willing to try." Michael nodded, satisfied. "I'm glad to hear that. So let's work together to turn this situation into something positive for all of us." With that, Michael's plan began to take shape. The campaign would be launched soon, and Jessica would be a central piece of the narrative, not as a villain, but as an example of someone willing to face her mistakes and change. For Michael, this was exactly what he hoped to achieve, to show that even in business, humanity and empathy could prevail. In the weeks that followed, the campaign that Michael had envisioned began to take shape. He was determined to use the experience at Belvane to redefine the concept of customer service in the chain of stores and, at the same time, promote a deeper change in the company culture. For him, this was not just about correcting a problem, it was an opportunity to transform the entire approach of the brand and perhaps even inspire other businesses to do the same. The project was named Beyond Appearances, and its focus was clear: to encourage all employees to look beyond the surface, to see each customer as a person with their own story, and above all, to treat each one with respect and empathy. Michael wanted the public to understand that luxury was not just about the exclusivity of products, but about the quality of the relationships built within the store. And for that, he knew he would need the support and participation of everyone. The first part of the campaign involved a series of training sessions for the employees. Michael brought in customer service experts, psychologists, and even speakers known for their inspiring stories of overcoming challenges. During the training sessions, employees were encouraged to share their own experiences and reflect on how their attitudes could affect a customer's shopping experience. More than just rules and procedures, the training focused on building a mindset of respect and inclusion. Jessica actively participated in all the sessions, and each day was a learning experience for her. At first, she felt a bit uncomfortable, especially when some colleagues still looked at her curiously, knowing she was responsible for the incident that triggered all this change. But gradually, she began to realize she was not alone in her insecurities and that others had stories to tell too. As she opened up to learning, she gained confidence and started to contribute more in activities and discussions. In one of the sessions, one of the speakers shared a story that deeply moved everyone. He spoke about a time when he was judged for his appearance and how it affected his self-esteem. For Jessica, it was a moment of reflection. She finally managed to put herself in Michael's shoes and those of others who might have gone through similar situations. That made her realize how superficial and unfair her judgment had been, and motivated her even more to change. "It's not easy to admit our mistakes," the speaker said, looking directly at the audience. "But recognizing our flaws is the first step to growing and becoming a better version of ourselves. And we all have the capacity to do that." Michael closely monitored each phase of the training, and when it came time to prepare the public aspect of the campaign, he knew he was dealing with something sensitive. The proposal was to record short videos where employees, including Jessica, would talk about what they had learned and how their perceptions had changed. Michael wanted the messages to be authentic and touching, not just a marketing commercial. He knew that sincerity was key to making people believe in the transformation. The day before the recordings, Michael asked to speak with Jessica. They met again in his office, and this time the atmosphere was lighter, although there was still a subtle tension. Jessica felt a bit nervous about speaking in front of the cameras, but knew it was an important part of the process. "I wanted to thank you for the effort you've been putting in," Michael said as she sat down. "I know this situation hasn't been easy, and I believe you've shown a great willingness to change. That's something not everyone can do." Jessica smiled, a shy but sincere smile. "I've really learned a lot," she replied, "and I realize that my attitude didn't reflect who I want to be. I think deep down I was trying to prove something to myself, but I ended up doing it in the worst way possible." Michael nodded, understanding what she meant. "Tomorrow, we'll start recording the videos for the campaign, and I would like you to share your story honestly. It doesn't have to be something elaborate. I just want you to say what you feel, what you learned, and how it affected your worldview." Jessica took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the responsibility. She knew her participation would be one of the central moments of the campaign, and the fear of being judged again made her a little anxious. "I'll do my best," she promised. "That's all I ask," Michael said with a slight smile. "The truth is, we all make mistakes at some point. What really matters is what we do after we realize we were wrong." The next day, the cameras were set up in the center of the Belvane store, now filled with new products and a renewed atmosphere. There was a different energy in the air, a mix of nervousness and hope. Michael made a point of being present to oversee the recordings, and his presence reassured many employees who were nervous about speaking in front of the cameras. When it was Jessica's turn, she took a deep breath and stepped forward. The lights were focused on her, and for a moment she almost stepped back. But then she remembered what Michael had said. To be honest. And so, she began to speak. "My name is Jessica, and I've worked here at Belvane for 4 years, she started, her voice a bit hesitant at first, but gaining strength as she spoke. "Recently, I made a mistake by judging a customer based on his appearance, and that made me realize that I was looking at people in a very superficial way. I thought I knew who he was, but I was completely wrong. And that made me reflect on how our attitudes can hurt others, even if we don't realize it at the time." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "These past few days have taught me that everyone deserves respect, and what we see on the surface does not define who someone truly is. I know what I did was wrong, and I want to use this experience to be a better person and help my colleagues not to make the same mistake." Michael watched as she spoke and felt satisfied to see the sincerity in her words. He knew that, despite her nervousness, Jessica was being honest and vulnerable, and that was exactly what he expected. When she finished, there was a brief silence, followed by applause from some of the employees present. That was more than just a gesture of support. It was a sign that they were ready to move forward together. The recordings continued, and other employees also shared their stories and reflections. Each of them offered a different perspective on what they had learned during the training sessions, and Michael realized that his vision of transformation was indeed coming to fruition. The Beyond Appearances campaign was becoming a celebration of learning and growth, and that was exactly what he wanted. Not a focus on the mistake, but on what it could teach. When the day came to an end, Michael gathered everyone to thank them for their effort and to reinforce that this campaign was not just a marketing project, but a continuous commitment. "We are not just selling luxury products," he said. "We are building experiences, and each one of you is an essential part of that journey. Thank you for believing in this." In the following days, the videos were edited and prepared to be launched on digital platforms and social media. Michael knew that the next step would be crucial for Belvane's image, and he hoped the sincerity of the campaign would touch the hearts of the public, just as it had touched the store team. The Beyond Appearances campaign launched in grand style. The main video premiered on social media and video platforms, accompanied by small teasers showing Belvane employees sharing their stories. The message was clear and powerful. Everyone can learn and grow from their mistakes. The recordings featured real faces, genuine emotions, speaking about their experiences and insights, which added a human and authentic touch to the project. In the opening of the video, Michael appeared, succinctly explaining the purpose of the campaign. "We all make mistakes," he said, with a calm and compassionate tone, "but it's how we deal with them that defines who we are. And this story is about how we can look beyond appearances to find what truly matters." Then, the video showed scenes from the training, some interactions among employees, and finally, the heartfelt testimonials from people like Jessica, who was visibly emotional as she spoke about her experience. The video launch generated an immediate wave of reactions. Within a few hours, the campaign began to be widely shared on social media, and supportive comments flooded in from all directions. Many praised Michael's initiative, viewing him as a leader who genuinely cared about people, not just profits. Others highlighted the courage of the employees, especially Jessica, for acknowledging their mistakes and exposing themselves publicly to learn and improve. What Michael didn't expect, however, was the level of engagement the campaign would achieve. Influencers, celebrities, and even public figures commented on the video, praising the initiative as a positive example of how a company could address a problem. A famous actress shared the video on her profile with the caption, "This is how it's done. We all make mistakes, but not everyone has the courage to learn and grow from them. Congratulations, Michael Carter and team." The hashtag Beyond Appearances began trending, and Belvane's story quickly spread through news and blogs, becoming a case study for companies wanting to improve their customer relations. It was an unexpected turnaround for a situation that had started with an unpleasant incident. But more than publicity, Michael saw in the fallout an opportunity to further spread his message, to influence not only his employees, but also other businesses and individuals to reconsider their daily attitudes. As the campaign gained momentum on the internet, inside the Belvane store, the atmosphere was completely different. The weeks of training and the positive repercussions of the campaign created an atmosphere of renewal. Employees were more motivated, more attentive, and above all, more united. Those who once worked merely to fulfill their duties now seemed to understand the importance of their role in each customer's experience. Michael made a point of visiting the store regularly to witness firsthand the impact of the changes he had implemented and to speak with the employees. Jessica, in particular, felt the change intensely. In the first days after the video launch, she was apprehensive, worried about people's reactions. She feared being attacked or judged, but to her surprise, most of the messages she received were supportive. Many praised her courage for recognizing her mistakes and learning from them. Some messages were even touching, from customers who had experienced similar situations and found in the campaign a message of hope and forgiveness. One of the messages that touched her the most came from a young woman who wrote, "I work in a small store and have been judged many times because of my appearance. Seeing you acknowledge your mistakes and change gives me hope that things can be different. Thank you for doing this." That brought tears to Jessica's eyes as she realized that her story, although painful, had the power to inspire real changes. Michael's marketing team closely monitored the campaign's impact. The number of visits to Belvane's website increased significantly, and many people began sharing their own stories of judgment and overcoming using the campaign's hashtag. It was as if the initiative had awakened a collective sense of empathy, and Michael knew this was just the beginning. To maintain the momentum, he decided to organize an event at the store, inviting customers and partners for an afternoon of interaction with the team. During the event, customers could get to know the employees better, see the store's behind the scenes, and understand how the campaign had been conceived. Additionally, there would be a series of short panels where experts would speak about the importance of empathy in customer service and human relations in general. The day of the event arrived, and the Belvane store was packed. The team had worked hard to transform the space, creating areas where customers could relax, chat, and explore the products more interactively. There were demonstration stations, displays showcasing the brand's history, and a small stage where the lectures would take place. Michael made a point of moving around the space, talking to customers and listening to their opinions about the campaign and the store. Jessica was also there, initially a bit shy, but gradually feeling more comfortable as she noticed that many treated her with kindness and curiosity rather than judgment. During a break, a woman approached her, holding a bag from the store and a smile on her face. "I wanted to say that I watched the video and was moved," said the woman. "I think what you did was very brave, and I just wanted you to know that I admire that." "Thank you," Jessica replied, feeling a warm comfort in her chest. "It wasn't easy, but I learned a lot, and I'm still learning." The woman nodded. "That's what matters, isn't it? We're all learning in some way. And the fact that you're willing to do this so openly is inspiring." As this interaction took place, Michael prepared to take the stage and kick off the main panel of the event. When he finally took the microphone, all eyes turned to him. He began by thanking everyone for coming and made it a point to highlight the team's efforts to transform the experience at Belvane. "Today, we are not just here to celebrate a successful campaign," he said, his voice echoing through the space. "We are here to celebrate a change, a transformation that goes far beyond a luxury store." He spoke about the importance of learning from mistakes and not judging people by what we see on the surface. "We all have stories that are not always visible at first glance," he continued. "And when we learn to look beyond appearances, we discover a much richer, more empathetic, and more real world. This is what we want to offer here at Belvane, not just quality products, but experiences that truly touch people." Michael concluded his speech with a message that echoed the spirit of the campaign. "I want to thank everyone who got involved and believed in this project, especially our employees, who accepted the challenge to learn and grow. And I want to say that just as we hope all of you leave here with something positive, we continue to learn and improve every day." The audience applauded warmly, and Michael felt grateful for the support and positive energy filling the store. For him, that event symbolized much more than a simple restart for Belvane. It was proof that it was possible to change perceptions and bring a new meaning to the concept of luxury. After all, luxury was not just about what you could buy, but about how you were treated and how you treated others. As the event continued, Michael watched from a distance as Jessica animatedly conversed with a group of customers, smiling and interacting with a renewed confidence. He knew that this was just one of the many transformation stories that would emerge from that moment, and it made him believe that his mission was only beginning. After the success of the event and the positive repercussions of the campaign, Michael knew that the transformation of Belvane had started promisingly. But it was still just the beginning of a long process. Cultural changes do not happen overnight, and he was determined to ensure that the improvements implemented would be lasting. The team was energized, but they were also aware that challenges lay ahead, and Michael, as an attentive leader, planned to ensure that the commitment to empathy and respect became a permanent mark of the store. The Beyond Appearances campaign continued to attract attention, and with it came both praise and constructive criticism. Some people questioned whether the change in store culture would truly be sustainable or if it was merely a temporary marketing ploy. Michael was prepared to face those doubts. He knew that the only way to prove the sincerity of the project was to keep focusing on practice and not just words. "Let's be clear, this campaign is not the end, it's the beginning," Michael said in a meeting with Belvane's management a few weeks after the event. "I want all of us to think of ways to continue promoting this mindset of respect and empathy every day. We cannot allow this change to be just a passing phase." From that meeting, new initiatives were implemented in the store. In addition to regular training sessions, an anonymous feedback program was created where customers could report their shopping experiences, both positive and negative. Michael wanted to ensure that every customer felt heard and that the store remained open to correcting any inappropriate behaviors that might still occur. He also introduced an internal recognition system to highlight employees who excelled in service as a way to encourage positive practices. Jessica, who had become one of the most visible figures of the campaign, took on a more active role in implementing these changes. Michael invited her to help create a customer service manual based on the lessons she and her colleagues learned during training. At first, she was surprised by the invitation, but soon embraced the responsibility with enthusiasm. "I want you to use your experience to help shape what the service standard will be moving forward," Michael told Jessica when he explained the idea. "You've undergone significant change, and I think no one better than you can help guide others through this process." She accepted the challenge, recognizing the opportunity to turn her mistake into a driving force for the store's evolution. During the manual's development process, she worked closely with various colleagues, collecting ideas and suggestions, and met with customer service experts to ensure the principles in the manual were clear and applicable in daily operations. With each meeting and each revision of the text, she felt she was helping build something with a true purpose, which motivated her to continue striving. Meanwhile, Michael began planning the expansion of the Belvane concept to other locations. The idea was for all stores to follow the same standard of service and behavior that had been established at the headquarters, and he knew that replicating the success of the campaign in new stores would require significant effort. He started organizing visits to other branches, some in neighboring cities, to personally talk to employees and explain the importance of maintaining the commitment to empathy and respect. During one of those visits, he discreetly entered one of the stores to observe how customers were being received. As always, he dressed simply and tried to go unnoticed, but this time, things were different. A young employee greeted him with a warm smile and asked how she could help him. Michael noticed that, unlike what had happened at Belvane headquarters weeks ago, there was no judgment in her gaze, only genuine kindness. "We're looking for a gift for a friend," Michael said, pretending to be just an ordinary customer. He hoped to see how the service would unfold without them knowing who he was. The employee spent several minutes explaining the different product options, asking questions to better understand the taste of the imaginary friend, and suggesting options based on what he described. Throughout the interaction, she remained attentive and professional, showing a sincere interest in helping him find the perfect gift. Michael thanked her and left the store without revealing his identity. But when he returned later for a meeting with the management, he made sure to highlight the exemplary service he had received. "That's what I want to see in all stores," he said with a satisfied smile. "Service that makes the customer feel truly heard and valued." Over the months, the Belvane stores began implementing the practices developed at the headquarters, and the change was felt by everyone. Sales gradually increased, but what mattered most was the positive feedback they received from customers. Many people returned to the store after seeing the campaign, curious to check if the change was real. And when they encountered a friendlier and more willing team to help, they were impressed and willing to return. However, not everything was easy. There were moments of resistance, especially from employees who were still stuck in an old mindset, believing that only apparently wealthy customers deserved more attention. Michael dealt with these situations directly, organizing discussion sessions where those employees could express their concerns, and he, in turn, reinforced the value of the new approach. He knew that for some people, changing habits was difficult, but he was willing to continue investing in the transformation process. At one point, he decided to share a bit of his own story with the team. During one of those discussion sessions, Michael revealed that when he was younger, he used to work as a waiter at the family hotel before taking on a leadership role. "I know what it's like to be treated as someone who doesn't deserve attention," he told them. "And that marked me so deeply that when I had the opportunity to take over the business, I swore I would never let that happen in the places we manage. I want each of you to understand that the true measure of a luxury brand is not just in what we sell, but in how we treat the people who enter through our doors." This honesty and vulnerability had a profound effect on the team. Seeing Michael open up about his own experiences made many feel closer to him and his vision. Jessica, who was present, felt inspired by the way he had transformed his own struggles into a principle of leadership, and that reinforced her determination to help change Belvane. A significant moment occurred when a regular customer of the store, who had seen the campaign, returned to buy a gift. She specifically asked to speak with Jessica and said, "I watched the video, and I wanted to tell you that it takes a lot of courage to admit your mistakes publicly. I really respect that, and that's why I'm here today. I know this store is genuinely changing because I see the difference in the service, and that is only possible because people like you are willing to improve." Jessica was touched by the customer's words. They represented the validation of all the efforts and sacrifices she had made to grow and improve. She realized that the changes happening at Belvane were not just internal. They were reflecting in the experiences and perceptions of customers. It was a continuous process of evolution where each interaction counted. Michael continued to closely monitor the evolution of the store and the initiatives he had implemented. He knew he couldn't relax and let the initial momentum of the campaign dissipate, so he began planning new training programs, workshops, and community events where Belvane could continue reinforcing its message and building an even stronger relationship with the surrounding community. The Beyond Appearances campaign had started as a response to an isolated incident, but it was transforming into something much larger. For Michael, it was proof that even difficult moments could become catalysts for growth and positive change, and he was determined to keep expanding that vision, not only for Belvane but for all the companies under his management, creating a legacy that transcended the luxury of products and celebrated the true value of empathy and human respect. 6 months after the launch of the Beyond Appearances campaign, Belvane was a completely transformed store. What started as a response to an unpleasant incident had become a movement that redefined how the brand was viewed by customers and employees. Michael Carter knew that in order to solidify this change, he needed to make the new philosophy of the store more than just a set of guidelines. It needed to be lived by everyone who was part of the company. One of the greatest proofs that the transformation was working came in the form of public recognition. Belvane received an award for excellence in customer service, a recognition that would have been unthinkable for a store that had been criticized for its superficial approach. Michael made a point to emphasize that this award was not his, but belonged to all the employees who had accepted the challenge to change and evolve. During the award ceremony, he took the stage to receive the trophy and in his speech, especially thanked the team members who had stood out during the transformation process, mentioning Jessica in a special way. "Change begins with the courage to admit our mistakes and the commitment to do better," he said. And I am proud to say that thanks to the efforts of each of you, Belvane has become an example of what is possible when we choose to look beyond appearances and treat everyone with the respect and dignity they deserve. Jessica, seated among her colleagues, felt a deep pride as she heard her name mentioned. She never imagined that the moment of shame and regret she had experienced months earlier could transform into something so positive. During the award ceremony, she received hugs from colleagues and words of encouragement that reinforced her belief that she had chosen the right path by accepting the challenge to change. However, the most profound impact of the campaign was felt outside the store's walls. The message of empathy and respect crossed the boundaries of Belvane and began to influence other companies and local businesses. Michael was invited to participate in conferences and business events, where he shared the experience and journey of transformation that Belvane underwent. He spoke about the importance of creating a corporate culture that valued people, not just profits. Companies from various sectors began adopting training programs inspired by the campaign, and the hashtag Beyond Appearances continued to be used by people wanting to share stories of kindness and empathy in their daily lives. One of the most striking stories came when Michael received a letter from a small business owner running a convenience store. He wrote that after watching the campaign video, he decided to change how his employees were trained, encouraging them to be more welcoming and attentive to all customers. He mentioned how a simple change in approach made customers return and comment on the improvement in service. For Michael, that meant the transformation he had initiated at Belvane had a much broader impact than he had imagined. Meanwhile, Jessica continued to dedicate herself to her role at Belvane. She not only helped create the customer service manual, but was also promoted to a leadership position in training new employees. Michael knew that no one better than her could teach newcomers about the importance of treating all customers with respect and empathy. She conducted training sessions with a mix of sincerity and passion, sharing her own story of failure and learning as an example of how it is always possible to improve. In one of those sessions, a new employee asked Jessica how she managed to handle all the pressure after the incident. "It was difficult," she replied without hesitating. "But I realized that when we face our mistakes head-on and are willing to learn from them, we gain a strength that makes us better, both at work and in life. And today, I'm here because I chose not to run away, but to embrace this opportunity to grow." This honesty was what made Jessica's training sessions so powerful. She had become a sort of mentor for many of the new employees, who saw her not just as a superior, but as someone who understood their insecurities and challenges. Gradually, Belvane began to create an environment where everyone felt more comfortable expressing their concerns and suggestions, and this was directly reflected in the customer experience. The new culture at Belvane also began to attract a more diverse clientele. People who once felt intimidated by the exclusivity of the store now felt welcome, and Michael watched with satisfaction as the diversity of customers became a reflection of the city's diversity. Belvane was no longer just a luxury store. It was a place where everyone could enter and be treated with courtesy and respect, regardless of their appearance. And that became increasingly evident. After the success of the campaign and the stabilization of the changes at Belvane, Michael began exploring new ways to expand his vision to other areas of his business empire. He wanted to bring the Beyond Appearances philosophy to his hotels and resorts, where customer service was an essential part of the experience. He believed that by creating a network of companies that followed the same principles of empathy and inclusion, he could redefine the concept of luxury hospitality. In one of his meetings with his board of directors, he presented an ambitious plan to implement similar training programs in his hotel chain. It doesn't matter if we're selling a designer handbag or offering a stay in a five-star resort, he said. The principle is the same, to make every customer feel valued and respected, and that is the essence of true luxury. The directors, who initially viewed Belvane's campaign as a point response to a crisis, realized that Michael had a much bigger vision in mind. He wanted to create a legacy, something that could transform the way the luxury sector treated its customers. They knew it would be a significant challenge, but they were motivated by Michael's passion and determination. And more importantly, they believed it was possible because they had already seen success at Belvane. At the end of that year, Michael organized a celebration at the Belvane store, marking the one-year anniversary of the Beyond Appearances campaign. He invited all employees, loyal customers, partners, and friends for a special evening of celebration. The event had a festive atmosphere, but it was also a moment of reflection on the journey they had taken. A small exhibition was set up in the store, with photos and videos showcasing key moments of the transformation, from the training sessions to testimonials from customers impacted by the new approach. At the height of the night, Michael took the stage and spoke about what that year had meant for him and the company. "When we began this journey, we didn't know exactly where it would take us," he said, a smile on his face. "But what we learned is that when we put empathy and respect at the center of everything we do, we create something that goes far beyond products or services. We create connections, and these connections are what make us truly human." He made sure to call Jessica to the stage, recognizing her dedication and growth over the past year. "Jessica, you are living proof that we all have the potential to change and improve," he said, as the audience applauded. "And I couldn't be prouder to see how you turned your personal journey into a source of inspiration for all of us." Jessica, emotional, took the microphone and thanked everyone for the opportunity and support she had received. "I know it wasn't easy for you to believe in me after what happened," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "But I am forever grateful for the chance to show that I can be better. And this experience taught me that true luxury is not in the things we own, but in how we treat each other." The event ended with a sense of hope and accomplishment. The campaign that started as a response to a problem had become a symbol of transformation and progress. And Michael knew that as long as they continued to follow the path of empathy and respect, the future of Belvane and his other businesses would be bright. For him, the greatest lesson of this entire journey was clear. No matter how large the empire you build, what truly makes a difference are the small daily interactions, the acts of kindness, and the willingness to look beyond appearances. And he was determined to carry that philosophy forward, expanding not only his businesses, but also the positive impact he could have on the lives of everyone who crossed his path. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing to our channel and supporting us through the thanks button. Until next time.